Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great game with polarizing reviews, to say the least. And what better time to talk about it than at the lowest point of relevancy it's ever been. Hello everyone, this is Aqua, Sloth, and today I'd like to share some of my thoughts and opinions on Animal Crossing New Horizons and attempt to defend the best-selling and arguably most hated game in the series. In all honesty, I wrote a lot of this script like 2 years ago after watching Voyan's second year New Horizons retrospective video, which I think did a good job at showing where the game was a year after launch and where it was the following year. And while I don't necessarily agree with all of the points that he brings up, I do feel like he raises some pretty fair concerns with the series going forward. Also fueling this hissy fit rage is seeing some of the brain-dead fucking idiots that flood the Animal Crossing Twitter replies. Holy God, if I could put you on a boat and just ship you out to sea, I would. Coming out at the beginning of COVID, New Horizons sold a whopping 40 million copies compared to its predecessor New Leaf, which clocked in at just under 13 million. Makes me think that goddamn Japan made up that whole coronavirus scam just to sell more video games. Yep. I want to fuck my cousin. While I think that most people generally enjoyed New Horizons, there is a very vocal minority that have taken their place on the front line to tell you exactly why you should hate the game, even if you're enjoying it, and how Nintendo scammed them out of their money or something. I don't really know what they're fighting for, I'll be honest. It's like your weird military grandpa when you ask him to pass the potatoes at dinner and then he just starts going on a rant about watching his friends fall into a pit of spikes in Vietnam. It's like, dude, straight up, I didn't ask, just pass the potatoes. The first major point that a lot of people bring up is that New Horizons did not feel like a complete game at launch, which right out the gate, I'm gonna disagree with. New Horizons felt new and exciting with the crafting system and the ability to play stuff outside, and not that it really matters, but Zooey Mama, that graphical leap was crispy. I think these improvements were fantastic, and a much needed push to set New Horizons apart from the other games in the series. After all, let us not forget that City Folk got shit on relentlessly for being too similar to Wild World, only for everyone to look back a couple years later and be like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. One of the new features that New Leaf brought us was the Public Works project, which was really cool, I will admit. It was basically the ability to build stuff outside, like benches and lampposts and fountains, but before New Horizons let us go crazy with it and put a fucking bathtub on a mountain. The fact that I had to not only pay $30,000 for a bench, but also just wait around and just hope that one of my villagers suggests that I build it, that's ass cheeks, dude. At launch, New Horizons had new Nook Mile islands, new holidays and seasonal events, new furniture, new NPCs, and a new atmosphere, all accompanied by a bangin' ass soundtrack. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff missing from previous entries in the series, but there was still so much more added. And I'm right there with you. I wish the villagers had better dialogue, and I wish all the old NPCs were still around, and the flea markets, and I really don't miss the Torture minigames at all. I did not think they were that great to begin with, and I'm genuinely kind of shocked at the amount of people that say that they miss them. I think that a lot of people overlook what New Horizons did right, especially compared to what it did not so right. And I'm saying this all as a New Leaf purist myself. I love New Leaf, but if Nintendo had made us wait 7 years and then just released New Leaf 2 Switch Edition, people would start blowing out their fucking brains. It would be the exact same thing that happened with City Folk, which sold half the number of copies that Wild World did. I don't know if it was simply due to the fact that it had been so long since I had played a new Animal Crossing game, or what exactly it was, but I was stoked as shit when New Horizons came out. Even pre 2.0, I never really felt bored of the game. I mean, not any more bored than I was with the other games. These aren't really the most adrenaline pumping and riveting games out there, you know? I think that all Animal Crossing games have this metaphorical candle that lights every time you start a new island or town. To a lot of people, these games are a slow burn. You play maybe 30 minutes, an hour a day, you probably have other games that you're playing, or a job, or friends. You do a little here and there, you work it into your daily schedule, and as time passes, you kind of start playing less and less. 3 months later, you're checking it twice a week. 6 months later, you're checking it every other week. I think around the 10-month to a year mark, most people are only playing holidays, and you slowly just kind of phase out of it. You had your fun, and you let it go. Then there's the other type of player where you have the exact same candle, but instead of lighting it with a match, you throw it into a fucking furnace. You play for 16 hours a day, browse Reddit for the best villagers, spend real-world money on fake-world items, and your only personality trait is your island. And sure, it's probably super fun to sink a whole day into it, but you've just burned through a year's worth of gameplay in 2 weeks, and you're shocked that the game hasn't been updated yet. This shit was never live service, dude. It was just a regular game. You know what's fun? Trampolines. You know what gets pretty fucking old after jumping on it for 3,000 hours? Trampolines. Do you see me up in arms about how Big Trampoline has scammed me out of my money? Do I expect them to come out with Trampoline 2 tomorrow? No, I do not. Now, I am all for playing however you want to play. But if I see your stupid fucking ass in the replies to the Animal Crossing Twitter account saying, update the game or this will be my 13th reason, buddy, I got your 14th and 15th right fucking here. Look, I get it. The COVID times were tough on everyone, but Animal Crossing has never been and will never be your therapist. You using Animal Crossing as your unhealthy and illegitimate coping mechanism is not Nintendo's fault. It is yours for being a fucking moron. Video games are sick. Yes, you can use them to unwind after a long, stressful day. But you wanting to give your walls a fresh coat of red paint is not going to magically be solved by burying your personal problems between two cartoon cats that you want to fuck. I've been actively playing a new town in City Folk while also trying to maintain my work-in-progress island on New Horizons, and playing both simultaneously has really shined a great bit of light on how these games differ and how they've progressed through the years. In New Horizons, you can easily kill hours decorating your island, farming supplies, doing villager hunts if that's your thing. There is always something to do, and I mean always. Don't want to fish? Go catch some bugs. Don't want to catch any bugs? Go move a building around and attempt to create your never going to be perfect island entrance. You always have a task to complete, a place to be, a thing to do, or a chore to grind. In City Folk and the earlier games, you don't really have that. Tired of catching bugs and fish? Too bad, that's all there is to do today. Already dug up your 2 fossils and seen what's in the store today? Better check back tomorrow and see what's new then. It almost feels like a genuinely separate, breathing world that you pop into for an hour, talk to your villagers, check the shop, then put it down and come back later. They don't want you to play for 4 hours to chop a tree or try to find the aforementioned fuckable cat on a random island. These games were never meant to be min-maxed the way the New Horizons was, and it makes me genuinely sad when people actively go against the intended playstyle and then have the fucking stones to complain that the game is boring. In closing, you spending the equivalent of a 40-hour workweek in Animal Crossing is nobody's fault but your own, and if plowing through every activity that the game had to offer in the first 2 weeks of it being released bored you, Nintendo was not the problem. It was you, and it probably still is. Anyways, I could bitch about how toxic the community is all I want, but it would do about as much good as replying to a company Twitter account, so I don't know, I just want everyone to shut the fuck up. I've been Aqua Sloth, you've been great. I'll see you later.